Hey up troops, hey Littleton here again with another video. I feel like it's a while since we've made like a full video like this and not just a solo queue video. But anyway, I've had a few questions and a bit of feedback on some of the videos that we did for the defensive setups. We made a defensive setup guide for every map, still current and up to date, and we also put them all together in one video, an 8-hour long video, which I'm still sure is the longest Siege video on YouTube. Anyway, some of the questions are, why do we make head holes? Why do we make feet holes? Why do we make rotate? So in this video, I'm going to look at two sides, Oregon Basement, Nighthaven Labs top floor. We're going to look at the setup. I'm going to show you why we make head hole. Why are head holes important? Because a lot of the time people say, well, now attackers can just see into the site and kill me. Well, yeah, they can, but you can kill them as well. And we're going to show why and why that's important, and also the different layers of defense that you need. Basically, why do we do site setup? Why don't we just reinforce everything, sit in site, bunker up, which is what a lot of people think you need to do when they first start playing the game. If you looked at like defensive setups, defensive site setups, you would see that the higher up the elo ladder you go, the higher the rank you go, the more expansive the setups get, the more further into the map they go. And we're going to go into why we do that and why it's beneficial for you as a defender. That's enough waffling. Let's just get stuck into it. So the first site we're going to talk about why setup and sort of how setup is Oregon Basement, because this is one of the sites that requires the most complex setup in my opinion, but also gives you the most amount of freedom of movement once you've done the setup. So you can see we've got head holes there, we've got a rotate here, we've got a line of sight here, we've got head holes here, we've got a rotate in this area here, and another little sort of vault rotate here. Now, I'm just going to go through what each one of these does. This isn't an Oregon site setup video, so I'm not going to spend forever saying, you know, why we do, exactly what we're doing here, if you know what I mean. I'm just going to tell you why we do it, and then you can apply the same logic to other sides. So, first thing is elbow. This is what we're going to call a choke point. This is one of the main areas into site where attackers are definitely going to have to come through this door. Or, well, they don't have to, but one of the main ways attackers are going to come into the site is through this door. They're going to take this area here in blue. Then they're going to look to take this area here on... this area here is called Shiko, and that's Harry Potter, and this is Pillar. They're going to then look to take this area. They're going to... Once you've got Pillar control, you then look to take into E-box, and then you look to plant sometimes here, or sometimes just right on the door here. The reason sometimes you want to plant here is you can't be seen from freezer. If you plant tucked here like this, you can be seen from freezer. If you plant right on the door like this, then you can't be seen from freezer door. Sometimes people do that wrong. They say, I don't know where the last one is, I'll just go and plant. And they start planting here, and the last guy's in freezer, and they lose the round. Anyway, we're not here to talk about plant spots, but that's why sometimes you can plant now. So that's the sort of the flow the attackers are going to do from this side, right? So what you want to do is you do not want to reinforce these two walls and stand here, because that means the defenders don't have to worry about this part of the map at all. Once they've opened this door, they drone around this corner, they see that these are reinforced, they know no one's here, so this part of the site is completely free for them. The only thing they have to worry about when they come through here is this angle and this angle. And you can block both of those angles off with one smoke grenade almost. You put a smoke grenade there, you could walk around here without being seen. So by having a rotate here, it now means you can't walk around here without challenging a defender. And don't get me wrong, in a lot of these situations, you're going to have to take a gunfight sometimes, and you might lose that gunfight. And you know what? People lose gunfights in Siege all the time. But believe it or not, Shiko, Spoit, any pro that you can think of, Pengu when he used to play professionally, they lose gunfights sometimes. It happens. And you know what? You will lose gunfights as well. I'm sorry to tell you that, although I'm sure most of you are aware of it, much like I am. And if you take a gunfight and you lose it, you've just got to put yourself in a good position to have a gunfight. You know, don't just stand here and hold this angle. Stand further back and hold this angle, or stand on an off angle here. But give yourself the best advantage of winning the gunfight, and if you lose it, you'll lose it. But if you don't open that elbow corner there, that gives the attackers this area for free, and it means they only have to worry about this. At the moment, they've got to put a smoke grenade there, but then as they walk around here, you're going to be holding there. So we're giving the attackers more things to worry about on the way through into the site. And this is a good example here, because there's like a three-pronged attack you can do on defense from this area as well. You could even play somebody tight in the corner here, although I don't recommend it because it's a bit of a death spot. So we've then got this area here. Now, just for a second, pretend this is reinforced as well, okay? I'm not going to reinforce it, but pretend it is. So imagine the elbow wall here is fully reinforced. And then imagine E-box is fully reinforced as well. And in lower ranks, depending how far down the elo ladder you are or how new you are to the game, a lot of the mentality is bunker up site. If there's a metal wall there, that makes me safe. And It's kind of right to an extent, but it's also not. So, say, for example, that one's also reinforced. We're an attacker coming through here. We've droned that. We don't have to worry about that. We can see these 2 walls are reinforced. And now all we need to worry about is this door. So, we've gone from having 3 areas of concern to 1 area of concern, 1 door. And if we want to get into blue now, we can throw a frag grenade in that area. 1 single flashbang in that area will cause, you know, if you're playing here and you get flashed, unless you're a warden, you're going to have to back off to here. And that then gives them the area to take. So these head holes here are an excellent example of why we use head holes. Because, let's just say you're here. You've got this angle onto blue. You've also got... I'll just make a shotgun hole here. You wouldn't normally make a shotgun hole here. You would just wall bang here and try and sort of get lucky sometimes. So you've got this angle here. And now with these head holes, you've got this angle here. You've also got this angle here. Or you've got this angle here. So from 1 set of head holes here... We've now got 4 different angles the attackers have got to worry about. And this is what we want to do with head holes. Now, don't get me wrong. There's an argument to say that an attacker stood behind these barrels can now shoot all the way down to the back of pillar, which is right. But it isn't just about closing every angle off. You've got a gun as well. You can get kills as well. You can cause problems as well. You can use utility as well. Throwing smoke grenades through there, for example. You know, going prone here and throwing a C4 through there or a smoke grenade through there, whatever it might be. So that's why we make head holes. You can see the amount of angles now as an attacker we've got to worry about when we walk through here. As we've come to here, we've got to worry about here, which is peeking from the other side of the reinforcement. Here, peeking from pillar. Here, peeking from the door. And here, elbow. And they could be anywhere from this tight angle here to the off angle we mentioned here. Or even prone on the floor here with a shotgun, which is an absolute rat spot, and I love it. But that's why we make those head holes. So you can see now, hopefully, how important those head holes are. Now, don't get me wrong, you do need a degree of confidence to be able to play those head holes, because it does open up other angles to die from. For example, if the person who's playing an E-box dies as the defender, the attackers get to here, and now look at the angle that they have. Down highway, almost to freeze a door. But they can see a lot from here now because of these head holes. But you've sort of got to do that. Let's just again say, for example, you don't... you do reinforce this and you don't make the head holes. It gives the attackers up to here for free, basically. Then they can use maybe 1 more flash to take this area. And now they're here without using barely any utility other than maybe a couple of frags or a couple of flashes. If you've set this up correctly with maybe even a mirror on this angle, obviously you'd reinforce the hatch as well. I just haven't done that for whilst I'm doing this example. I've said this in another video, and I'll probably talk about this when we do an example on Nighthaven Labs. You've got to make layers of challenges and layers of problems, as I always call them, for attackers to overcome. And, you know, having bits of utility on here would do that as well. You know, a Fenrir trap, an Allen mine, a couple of goo mines, a Malusi Banshee, probably a Wamai Magnet or a Jaeger ADS on here as well to stop any throwables coming through into this area. So, even like deployable shields here, which is the classic on Elbow. So you can see there, just from those head holes, how important that is. Now, let's talk about rotates quickly. Now, this one is what I would call... bear with me, I'm going to tab out a second, because I wrote something down what I called it. What did I call it on... I made a little note. So I call this a delay rotate. That's what I called this. Why do I call this a delay rotate? Because you can hold this area, but depending on the attack, it's going to get pretty fruity in this area. So you're here just to delay. So you can hold this for maybe a minute and a half, and then all of a sudden, Flores drones are coming in, Yin Candles are coming in, Sense curtains are appearing. There's a lot going on, and you go, you know what? It's a 3-on-1 here. There's potentially 3 people in blue. The head holes have been smoked off, so I've got no help from this angle. Me as a smoke in this corner here. I've done my job. I've delayed time by a minute and a half, 2 minutes, whatever, however long it is. I can now retreat back through here and reinforce this off. Bear in mind, this side would be reinforced as well. Let me just do that for continuity. So you get to this point, and you go, you know what? There's a blitz about to push through. I can hear a shield there. There's a Yin Candle. I'm backing off. Right, reinforce that. And you've then caused now another problem for the attackers to overcome. So they'll have used utility to get to this point here. And they go, right, we're going to clear the smoke out now. We've yinged. Yeah, blitz has ran in. And you go, okay, no problem. I'll just back off to here, and I'll reinforce this. And now here's another problem for you to overcome. Bear in mind how much utility they would have had to use to get to this point. They'll have used a couple of candles, a couple of sense curtains, a couple of smokes, a frag or two, a flashbang. You've probably got 2 ADSs here that have swallowed 2 of those bits of utility as well. And then you go back behind another layer and cause them another problem with this reinforcement. If you do this straight from the off, if you reinforce this straight from the off, they don't need to use any of that utility I just mentioned to get to here. Like, they can get to here with an ace or a thermite to open that wall and then still have all that utility that they just used to take this area in the pocket to then take this area. The idea is the problems that you cause soak up the utility before you get to site. Do you know what? I don't feel like I've explained that very well, but hopefully I have. Okay, so that's the delay rotate or delay extension, whatever you want to call it. We then move on to rotates and why we make rotates. And this is fairly basic, but it still needs mentioning. So I make the rotate on the right side here, which is fairly controversial. A lot of people prefer it on the left. That's absolutely fine. I prefer it on the right because you can hold 3 pretty prominent places: blue, freezer, and laundry, all from this sort of 1 square meter. Like, you've got to sort of step out to look at freezer, and then you've got to step back in to look at blue. But all from there to there, I can cover 3 important angles. The only other one you've got to worry about is tower stairs. You can do that from here, but don't go too far that way because there's probably going to be an attacker on your head holes that you've made there. We're in blue, and we now need to rotate to highway. Well, we can't rotate to highway because there's someone holding from pillar from here, so we can't just come through this door. So we need another way around. Obviously, you could come this way around, or you could use this rotate that you make as well, and then peek onto highway. But basically, we have rotates to enable movement throughout site. I always say, if this rotate wasn't here, if this was reinforced, or if this was a solid wall, and somebody now appeared in laundry, how would you hold them? How would you stop an attacker getting from laundry into where you... Bear in mind, you can plant in this rectangular room, and you can plant here too. So you can plant all the way in here and all the way up to there. So an attacker comes down the stairs there. Let's just say this wall's not got a rotate in. The attacker comes here and starts planting. How do you stop that? The only way to stop that is from this door. And if you take a gunfight and you lose the gunfight, then an attacker walks in and he has this for free. However, this rotate being here enables the people who are playing either in supply or over an E-box, or the person who's playing elbow can then go, okay, my teammate died over there, but I can now rotate to this area and take cover and take over this area as well. If this was a solid wall, you wouldn't be able to do that. And this isn't the best rotate to show it. I mean, it shows a reason why we do it. But I always say, when you think about rotates, it's because I've played the game for so long, it's just simple, and I feel like I can't talk about it for too long. But I always say, imagine if this wasn't there. Like, if this rotate wasn't here and this was a solid wall, how would you defend this part of the site? You can't, can you? The only way to defend it is by being in this room itself, or by being on this double door. That's the only way to defend it. So rotates just enable you to move around this. Again, if this was a solid wall, if this was reinforced, how would you get into blue? The only way you could get there would be going all the way around here. It's a nightmare to get around. It just enables fluid movement around site. And generally speaking, not the more rotates the better, but you've got to have a rotate between the 2 bomb sites. So you can see one bomb's in supply, the other one's in laundry. You've got to be able to get between those 2. We can see one bomb. By standing in this wall now, we can see one bomb there and one bomb there. And you can just get between the 2 sites easily. If you don't have that rotate there, you can't get between the sites, and attackers have so much freedom of movement, it's unbelievable. Right, head holes. This is the longer angles for head holes. We're going all the way over to freezer here. Now, I've made a few TikToks about this. TikTok dot whatever it is, .com is it? I don't know. It's A Littleton on TikTok, whatever. I make like little 60-second long strat videos. We can now hold freezer from here. Like, I'm going to fire a few bullets at that wall there, and we're going to go have a quick look at where that comes out. You can see that those bullets are now there. So any attacker walking down these stairs, normally when you come down the stairs, you would often have to worry about the bottom of the stairs. And then when you get here, you've generally got to watch the angle where you can hop up on the boxes there. And then this side of the lockers. And then as you get to here, you've got to worry about anyone on these head holes. But look at that angle we can hold now from where we just were. Where our bullets were coming from there. I'll put some on the wall so we can go and look at it in a sec. So you've got another angle to worry about now as well. Now, don't get me wrong, holding this with an SMG-11 is tough. But the argument against it on TikTok now is, well, attackers can hold over there now. Well, yeah, they can. But like I said earlier on, you're going to have to take some gunfights at some point. And you can see where those bullets were landing there. And again, it's what we were doing on the freezer wall. It just enables something else for for attackers to worry about. And of course, because we've got this rotate here and then the head holes, we can also hold now the rest of freezer. If these head holes weren't there and that rotate wasn't there, your only opportunity of holding freezer is literally being in here like this. And I suppose with defense, you've got to be a little bit dynamic, as you have with attack, but with defense, you've got to be dynamic in the sense that you might well have a player that's standing on this head, the vault up here. Well, as someone comes down these stairs, this player gets wiped out. What do you then do about freezer? how do you retake freezer? How do you put pressure on the attackers who are in freezer? Because you can't just let them have it for free. So having those lines of sight that I've just done there just enables you to put a bit more pressure on from different angles. Now, don't get me wrong, you don't have to make every head hole in every angle. You know, you haven't got to open every wall because you can't just give the attackers everything. You know, you can't open every wall so they can have a line of sight through everything. But you've got to know what you're doing so it benefits you. But the big thing with head holes, the big thing with head holes, is if you're playing here in elbow and you've made these head holes into freezer, you've got to use them. You can't expect, and especially it goes especially if you're solo queuing or if you're not playing with a full stack, basically. If you've made head holes and you don't play them, you're causing problems for your teammates because they probably don't know about them. So, for example, these head holes here, and they're not head holes, they're a bit higher, but this is a line of sight up onto tower stairs. So, because if they weren't there, when you're coming down tower stairs as an attacker, places you've got to worry about is this angle here, the angle to the side of pillar, that angle to the side of pillar, then the door, maybe Harry Potter, and then this door. Well, now you can get swung from this massive hole that you can't see anything in. So as you're coming down going, okay, are they down on this door? And you get to here and you get swung from this area. To be honest, you could make that hole a little bit smaller, like a tidier line. But you can see now from here, I can now hold the stairs from here. As a defender, I don't need to be here, or here, or here to hold the stairs. You wouldn't hold the stairs from here because you get smoke from blue, but you can now hold it from within supply next to the bomb. Another great angle of head holes. But the reason I got onto these is you wouldn't make these if, as a defender, you weren't going to use them. Like, you need to know to let your teammates know that you can't stand here now and not look up there. Like, you can't stand here and not look there. Some people are holding this angle into blue, which is fine. But if you're holding this angle, you can't do it now because these head holes are here. Well, again, higher than head holes, but you know what I mean. This line of sight's here. And if somebody walks down tower stairs, it's an absolute freebie onto you who isn't looking there. So you've got to be aware of the head holes. You see so many times where people will follow a setup guide that they've seen, and they go, oh no, Andy made head holes here, so I'll make them. And then, like, the teammates have no idea about it. They don't play the head holes to take advantage for what they've made, and they just end up causing problems. So, you know, it's whatever works for you, obviously. You know, you might be able to just bunker down, reinforce everything, and the attackers haven't got a clue what they're doing. But I've never really noticed that says supply room on that wall there. I don't know why I've never really noticed that. Anyway, so that's what I've made this whole head hole for, because it's definitely the right thing to do, in my opinion. Being able to hold onto there, or hold onto here, and be able to put some pressure onto tower stairs. But if you're not going to be playing it, your teammates have got to know that it's here. If not, you're causing problems for them. Right, let's get over to Nighthaven. We'll have a look at another example of why we do certain things on defense. Again, this isn't an Oregon setup guide, because start again, put my teeth in. A lot of what we discussed here applies to every site where we make head holes and where we make rotates. It's just why we do it. And there's a lot of fight back sometimes from people who say, well, I don't want to make angles for the attackers. Yeah, I know you don't. But you've also got to hold attackers from certain places. You can't just let them have the map for free, or otherwise you're going to have 5 attackers who've got every bit of utility they've still got in the pocket, and they're going to be there on your doorstep. And they've got everything in the pocket, and you're just behind a reinforced wall here. You can't stop the plant there. You've got to put some pressure on attackers and give them problems to solve on the waiter side. So we've moved over to Nighthaven now to just give you a few more examples of why. And we've got a good example of feet holes here that we haven't mentioned. But let's talk about the feet holes first, actually. Feet holes are similar to head holes, although it gives you one-way angles usually. So you've got this door here. Let's just go and put a prox over on that door so you can see it's there. And now you can see that we can see that prox mine. But that prox mine wouldn't be able to see us here. So if that was someone's feet walking through the holes there, move these out of the way. You can get rid of them. You can hit the base of that chair. Bear with me. And that'll move the chair. There we go. So now I can hold that door. You probably want... You see this sort of little thin layer here? You want that gone as well. You get a bit of a better angle on the door then. So you can see from here now. We can see the bottom of that door. You can see we can see that when we're crouching up and down. You can see that that's the bottom of the door there. So that means that as soon as someone's feet are there, we're going to see their feet. And they aren't going to see us. Because bear in mind, from that angle... As an attacker, you just come around this corner and you get to here. Bear in mind, we're over there on that desk. This is the angle that we're taking from there. And you get here and you're peeking here and you're wondering what's going on. You can get shot from here. So the feet holes are going to give you one-way angles where you're going to see their feet. And I've mentioned this before on Villa. Even though you see the feet, don't shoot the feet. You see the feet, but you know the head's going to be about there, right? So as soon as you see the feet... Then go for the head. Don't just shoot the feet. I mean, you can shoot the feet, but you're going to do like 25, 30 damage depending on your gun. Aim for the head. And it's also going to be a decent deterrent for them to know that they can't push through there. But they just don't know where they're getting fired from there. You can see their feet. They can't see you. That's the idea of feet holes. That's why we do it. Yes, of course. I'm just going to play devil's advocate here. An attacker could slither in and go, oh, can I see anything through the prone holes? And they could get an angle on you there. But if they do that, they're putting their head on the ground. And if you don't see their head when they prone in, from here, it's just an absolute freebie there. Anyway. One of the things I've talked about before in Oregon was and we talked about it on Albo, was the delay of letting the attackers have control of a certain area. So this is another great example, probably one of the better examples actually. You've got the connector walls here, and you've got the walls into site from connector over into server, okay? Now, what I've seen people do is just reinforce this, put 2 bandit batteries there and there. This happened on my most recent solo queue video. And they don't defend this room. Now, what you need to do is use this as, like, start here. Use this as, like, your first barrier of defense. At the start of the round, there'll be a few drones that come through this door. Get rid of the drones, move back. Obviously, don't just over-peek it. Don't just put your face in the door and be like, is anyone outside? I mean, it is a nice spawn peek, that, but I'm not a big spawn peek fan. But just literally play here, so you can't get shot from the door, just off from the door slightly. As soon as a drone comes around, shoot the drone. You can then move back if you want to, or you can be a bit more aggressive and wait for the next drone. Bear in mind, you've got to listen out for this wall. You can't let this wall be opened if you're here, because then you've got no route back to site. So if you... I've just tried to put a mute jammer on there, thinking I was playing mute. I was going to say, get a Cade or a bandit or a mute on there, just so it gives them a problem to solve. So you like get rid of a couple of drones on the way over. I like putting a little prox mine just here, tucked in that wall. So as soon as they cross here and get to this point, you know exactly where they are, because you've heard the prox go. You can hold an angle like this. They don't know you're here. As soon as you hear the prox, swing and pre-fire, because you know where they are. But again, don't let that get open, so you've got no way back. This isn't, again, a Nighthaven guide, but my point is you've got to add layers to your defense, right? So you've got a prox there, you get a swing on there. If this wall gets open, you've got to drop back to at least here. Could use the jump up. And still defend from here, get rid of a drone. Again, you want problems to solve on this door, so you want to have goo mines here, or a mute jammer, or whatever you want on this door to cause more problems. Again, you need problems to solve here as well. You can't just let people jump in this window for free. But again, like we talked about on Oregon Elbow, once the attackers have used utility, they've used 3 or 4 drones, maybe a thermite charge on here, and a Thatcher EMP or 2, or a pocket EMP or 2. They've probably maybe used a frag grenade to try and throw down to here to clear you from the door. And by the time they've done that, you can then move in here. You can even play a bit more aggressively here, or you can reinforce like we did on Oregon Elbow. And I know what you're thinking. At the start of this section of the video, you said don't just reinforce these walls and play behind it. And what I mean is don't do that straight away. You've absorbed some utility. What you can't do, and I'm repeating myself a bit here from Oregon, but you can't just give the attackers freedom up to here and just have a reinforced wall there. Freedom up to here, and they've still got all the utility in the pocket. They haven't had to use a thermite charge for this. You think about this site, right? You've got this wall, and then you've got the main IT wall the other side of there. Thermite only has 2 charges. So if Thermite has to use a charge on this, needs to use a charge on this wall, he can't then open the IT breach. If he uses a charge on connector wall and IT breach, if you back off and reinforce this, they can't then open this wall. Obviously, with attackers, there could be an ace, there could be a maverick, there could be hard breach charges. That's the beauty of Siege, right? There can be many different layers. It's not just black and white. But do you see what I'm saying? This is a good example where you start the defense out and then fall back slowly as the utility gets used to push you off. And then you can come in here, reinforce this if you want to. Or even just play aggressively off here. A mirror on here works incredibly well. And you can even reinforce this side and leave this one soft if you want to, however you want to play it. Same again in electrical. You can even back off from connector rather than going back into the site there. You can back off into electrical and play here. You can play a really tight angle on the door. Just bear in mind you can't really stand on this door if the breach is open, because there's an angle outside where people can be on. There's a roof outside you can stand on where you can get a really nice angle onto this door, and it's like really tough to play. You're not going to win the fight as a defender. And you just got to watch for this window, obviously. As long as that's barricaded, you know you're safe. As soon as you hear that barricade, just drop to here. Now you're safe from there. You can defend from there as well. You can defend from here. Again, you're not just stood here inside next to the bomb waiting for them to get to this room. Your defense starts further out. So we talked about feet holes, we talked about head holes, and we talked about rotates. We've also talked about choke points. Now, another thing I wanted to talk about was a little bit like choke points, and we did talk about it a little bit on Oregon. But you want to defend points where you can get access to multiple places defenders are going to push from. And we're going to use rafters here as an example. So this is what I'm going to call a choke point. An attacker has got to... Well, they haven't got to because they technically... The whole attack could come through that wall or through Aqua. But it's unlikely, right? 99 times out of 10. Way up. I feel like we haven't said that for ages. 99 times out of 10, part of the attack is going to come from up these stairs, through this window, through this door, or through this breach. And this is what I would call a choke point, where you can hold 4 or 5 different places, and Azami's an incredible operator for this, because you can just put an Azami Kiba barrier here, which then cuts off the angle to the breach, so you can play attack by being aggressive on this, or you can peek downstairs without having to worry about the breach. I'll probably make another TikTok at some point about the Azami setup for rafters here and how strong it is. But from this choke point here, from this sort of anchor spot here, you can hold 4 angles. You can technically hold more than 4 angles because you can hold the breach as 1, the door is 2, the door down there is 3, the stairs is 4, the window here is 5. You can hold on to the connector over there is 6. You can see electrical door if you get far enough back. Just about there is 7. You can even hold Aqua. You can even use the feet holes from here, look. From this one spot. This is why this spot's so important. You can defend so many different places. A little bit like Clubhouse rafters, I guess, in that sense, but also a bit like where I was playing on Elbow in Oregon, where I could see blue, then freezer, then laundry, and then tower stairs, all within like 4 steps. This is like even stronger than that. All these different angles you can hold just by being here. Now, don't get me wrong, that also means you can die from all those angles, and if an attacker pushes the breach, pushes that door, and pushes the stairs at the same time, you've kind of had it. But if you're in that level of elo where the attacks are that coordinated, then you already know what you're doing to get outside of that. If you're playing in gold or plat, you're not going to get pushed from 3 places at once, and the attack isn't going to be that coordinated. So yeah, you can play as Army here and hold all those different angles, and of course you can take different angles. You can come further back for this door, further back for the breach. It's just a really, really nice choke point to hold, and there's a ton of these on different maps. Main stairs on Villa is another. Means you can hold... Shoot the in radio. Main stairs on Villa is another. You can hold bottom main into study 90, study window, art, library, living room. There's loads of places you can hold from main stairs on Villa. That's another one. And there's those type of places everywhere. Piano and Chalet is another one. So yeah, think about the choke points that you want to hold, but these head holes will enable you to defend from those choke points a bit easier. Without these head holes on this wall and this wall, we wouldn't be able to see connector from here. Or electrical. Or fish. So that's why I just wanted to make... I mean, I feel like I'm sort of droning on a little bit now. Excuse the pun. But that's why we make the head holes, feet holes, and rotates that we do. Because I've had a bit of feedback from the setup videos, which I know, and the long setup video I did, which was 8 hours long, which I'm still adamant is the longest Siege video on YouTube. I'm taking that crown. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but I'm taking it. Oh, you can see the connector vault from there. See, that's the beauty of Siege. I didn't know you could hold that jump in from there. But you can. Like, you don't have to be here on this door pushing around to hold that jump in. You can take cover further back here. I didn't know that. What was that I just saw on the wall? Oh, it was a blue reflection. Yeah, I didn't know you could hold that from here. Nice. So yeah, a lot of people say, like, why am I making head holes? It just means attackers can see through. Well, yeah, it kind of does, but it also means you can see through as well. And like I said at the very start when we were on Oregon, if you want to win Siege, I mean, most of the time, you're going to have to take a gunfight. And these head holes enable you to take gunfights and don't give the attackers areas of the map for free. So that's why we do it. I feel like I've droned on a bit there, but that'll do. So there we have it. I know some of that was a little bit basic. You know, why do we make a rotate? You know, if someone's playing an Emerald and looking at this going, why do we do side setup? You probably know why we make a rotate. But there's been so many comments like, oh, the lines aside are just stupid. I can just get shot. They're not, I promise you. They're well worthwhile. Well worthwhile? Yeah, that makes sense. They're worth doing. But like I said during the section in Oregon Basement, don't make I can't speak. Don't make those head holes unless you plan on playing them. Don't just make head holes everywhere because you've seen a setup where someone does it, and then all of a sudden your teammates don't know where they're getting shot from. There's head holes they didn't know they were there. No one's playing the head holes. If you're making lines of sight, make sure you're utilizing them. Don't just make them and run off. You know, the worst one is Legion, right? Because obviously he's got that pocket shotgun, the super shorty. Legion will do the side, all in goodwill as well, by the way. They think they're doing the right thing. I've seen head holes here on YouTube, TikTok, or whatever, so we'll make head holes here, and then the Legion just disappears and roams. And then in sight, now you're trying to like defend 4 different angles that you don't know you've got. But anyway, that's the point. The feet holes are especially good, and learn to use those for sure. And of course, the rotates are pretty standard. So another question that I probably need to do another video on is why do we make vault rotates? Vault rotates are where if an enemy could come through the rotate quickly, we don't want to give them an advantage just being able to walk through and push through. The vault causes the gun to go up and down a little bit with the ADS motion. Like if you're ADS and you go up and over a vault, your gun goes up and down a little bit. It's where attackers might get an advantage by just being able to walk through the rotate. You still give them a slight obstacle by having to vault over. I don't always make vault rotates, just some sites feel right. So that's why we do site setup. Hopefully that's been helpful. It's been a while since I've made a video like this, like an actual tutorial video. I hate saying that, it makes me sound like a teacher. Because we've had a bit of a break over Christmas, but don't worry, we're right back amongst it. We'll carry on with the solo queue videos. I have to be honest, I feel like I'm cheating YouTube when I do a solo queue video because I'm just playing a game of ranked and recording it. Like, there's no thought gone into it. There's no, like, I don't know. I'm just waffling on at the end of this video. I'm not going to carry on talking absolute nonsense and make you watch it. So, thanks as always for getting involved with the channel. Don't forget the charm's out now. If you want to go and have a look at that, just sub on Twitch. You can use a Twitch Prime or a normal T1 sub, Tier 1 sub. And the charm goes on your account forever. And it does increase your KD by 0.3. And that's fact. Sorry. There's other ways to support the channel below if you want to get involved in the description. Obviously, just watching the video, I'm incredibly grateful. You don't have to go any further than that. So thank you, as always, for getting involved. I'll see you next time. Cheers.